Good morning, gents, on this beautiful Tuesday. This episode is brought to you by Woodside Energy, a proud major sponsor of the Fremantle Football Club, supporting local footy from grassroots to greatness. Okay, let's get straight into this. We love getting piled into the mailbag. Nick, this is from Nick. I thought it was a question to Nick.
Oh.
Okay, this is from Nick.
No,
not you.
It'd be Conehead or
different
Nick.
Nick.
So this
Yeah.
is the actual Nick.
What is the line
That's another
after a
good feeling.
Freo win for how much Rhino will glaze Caleb Sarong? 89.5 over.
Out of 100?
Is Caleb Sarong your number one at Freo?
Tracy. It's hard to go past Josh
Okay.
Tracy. I've got a lot of shares in the Unicorn. A lot of
Yeah,
shares.
you're
I've got a lot of shares in the
I would
Unicorn.
say all my shares are in Tracy.
Murphy Reid.
They've been Tracy. He had a quiet night and then
Good
kicked
finish.
a decent goal
Good
at the
finish.
end.
I knew you knew he was going to kick it though, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, run
just
it.
And
felt
again,
it.
who set that one up? Big Oscar.
Did he?
Yeah, he did the over-the-top kick.
No, but we can't mention Oscar because Ryan thinks we're shit canning
No,
in the office.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Michael, hi lads. Saw that Freo put up the list of who's voting for the medal, and on seeing this list, I have to ask, how quickly did Rhino put his hand up to vote in the medal tonight and be the chair of the panel yet
Yes.
again? Imagine the rest of the panel would be flat about this.
Do you reckon the rest of the panel carries the bags for the chair? Or...
So the other members of the panel were Aaron Phillips,
Oh, yes.
Sean Burgoyne, and Tim Gossage.
So how did you and Sean operate together?
No, Sean was working for Fox.
Yeah, you
Did
didn't
you and
see.
Aaron tag
No,
team
I
up
saw
there?
him briefly.
Yeah,
We
to have a
spoke,
chat.
said hello. Yeah,
Was Sean
He
seven
dressed
there
you-
for a while?
he was. Then he's gone to Fox.
Did he ask
Oh,
you?
he
Did you ask?
Crossed over.
Funny thing is, he asked Sean to address him as chairman.
Right.
the other day.
You and Aaron
Great.
conversed?
Yeah, great.
You and Goss?
I didn't see Goss on the night, but I'm sure it would have been okay.
You two have, ever since he said you couldn't carry his briefcase, oh, bugger
Does
lugs.
the chairman get a briefcase?
Listen to ya. I just quickly on the medal. Do we like or didn't like the?
Loved it.
Sorry. The post-game interview of the medal winner.
With Andy?
Yeah, so Andy and Pete Corrali did like
Oh, the interview on the ground,
5-minute
didn't like
interview.
it.
Is
No.
this a Pete Corelli thing for me? You trying to come out?
Actually, Pete did a wonderful job now.
I thought he did.
They did a great
wonderful
job. I didn't like the Q&A bit.
No, either did I. No.
Just let him
So
talk.
you're
move it on.
criticising Pete's work,
No,
then,
I text Pete saying how wonderful I thought he was for the entire night.
except for the interview part, which you
I
didn't
know,
like.
but we don't usually see an
No,
interview
that's more, of
post-game.
that's more of a format than a talent thing.
Yeah, it was a format of it.
Watch who's presenting the medal next year. It'll be old mate over here.
No,
Go to
no,
Q&A.
no, that's not-
PS
that's not my
minutes.
bread and butter.
P.S. Nick, now that you're posting reels constantly, would you like to comment on Bont being voted the best in the comp easily on that reel?
Yeah, no, he did. But Cam Rayner also got a strong vote. So the
Okay.
integrity of that voting process is not great.
Aaron, firstly, Rhino, how did it feel seeing Pete Corelli as the master of ceremonies
Yes.
at the end of the game? Did it bring up any bad memories? And secondly, how does it feel to be back in the Freo tent serving as the chair of the ANZAC Medal Committee? I didn't do that for Fremantle. I did it for the ANZACs.
So, yeah, right.
I'm an
If
Australian.
there's one person I would not want to jump off a boat in Gallipoli with, it's you.
I reckon I'd have been a good soldier.
You wouldn't have.
I've often thought that.
You're bullshit. You
Nah,
would have
I've
been,
often thought that.
You would have been on the drums on the jetty saying goodbye to everyone.
See, boys.
What do you
Yeah.
reckon Nick's role would have been?
You would have been stoned and in the bushes somewhere.
It would have been a,
Strategy.
dishonourable discharge. Whatever it's called.
But they gave him a badge for somehow. We lost at sea and somehow he found land.
We
Yeah,
lost,
that's
lost
what
him
happened.
in lost him in Cairo.
He would have accidentally saved 12 people and got a Purple Heart somehow.
Even though he wasn't allowed to be part of the army, he somehow got a medal at the end.
Brody, g'day lads, first time, long time. As a passionate Bulldog supporter, can you please put my mind at ease with the Bont leaving rumours? I can't see why he would leave and go to another club, but apparently his management has been in talks with Collingwood and even West Coast. I know it could be nothing but trade rumours, but it's been taking me an extra 30 minutes to get to sleep at night. I have a 2.5-year-old sausage dog named Bont, and it'll be a real shame to have
he
to
on the
put him
boots?
down. Okay.
Imagine Bont at the age of 30, he's still at the peak of his powers going, you know what?
Yeah.
That team hasn't won a game this year. I might go play there.
My missus briefly lived in Perth.
No.
And I would say him leaving the Bulldogs is less than a 1% chance.
And it wouldn't be for West Coast.
But I'm also considering taking on Sydney Sweeney as a mistress.
Are
In
you?
a similar vein to the West Coast considering Marcus Bontempelli approach.
Yeah.
Toby,
He'll be at the Dogs.
Xavier is incorrect about the
no.
Riverside stand. Riverside tied with Null Null Senior for the McGarry medal in 1967.
I still need to get that graphic. 2021, Null Null, Swan Districts Football Club, drafted to West Coast.
Unbelievable. Over under. This is from Mark.
That's a
Over
good
under
message.
career Brownlow wins for Nick Dacos, 2.5. Would you take the over?
I'd take under.
Under because he'll get screwed out of like 3.
And unusual to get. Not many get 3.
Not many get 3. Mitch, in my opinion, Raz is done at Freo. Can't get a look in. What would be his trade value at season's end? Do you think he would pursue a move east? Which clubs should look at him? I had a conversation about Erasmus not long ago. I do think that it's probably his best football is somewhere else now.
Well, has to be.
Yeah, I think there's others ahead of him. I think Johnson's ahead of him now. Murphy Reed's going to be a midfielder. Young and Sarong and Brayshaw are all very much in their prime. We're not even in it yet.
Yeah, and if they bring in Pickett as well, so he'll go through that rotation.
Yeah,
no, he's got to go.
And he's shown that he's not a forward.
He's shown he's not actually at the level either.
Well,
he's just okay.
But I also do feel like he probably hasn't been given a sustained
I agree with that too. But is that because he's not at the level that he's playing at a position all the time?
Put it this way: if he was playing at West Coast, I think he'd be in the team every week, and he'd be given a chance to grow into the role.
Yeah,
and maybe that's where. I don't know about where and when and how,
but value's gone down a lot.
Oh yeah, there would be.
You're not getting anything for him.
You're not getting anything.
Pick 50 or something.
Yeah,
maybe slightly more than that, but not much. Scarpsy, this is a voice message.
Hey boys, got a question for Big Pepsi. How important is line coaches and assistant coaches and their influence on the team actually matter? You know, Fremantle losing Josh Carr, obviously taking over Port Adelaide now, and losing Matty Boyd, who's now in Collingwood, and they're doing, really, really well. Just trying to read into it, or am I reading too much into it? Would love to hear your thoughts. And I do tell my friends about the podcast, boys. So,
line coaches are important, not so much for the tactical side of things, I don't think, but they are the connector often between player and coach, head coach. So, say Nick's head coach, I speak to you 90% of the time, not the head coach.
I'm the player?
You're my line coach.
Oh, so I'm the line coach.
I deal with you.
You're the player.
Yeah, and the messages that may be coming from the head coach come down via you. So the line coaches, I think, are the best.
I don't think you're chasing enough.
Yeah. No, but I think the line coaches are more of the friend of the player who can...
Confidant.
Yeah, so mate, let's go get a coffee. I want to talk to you about A, B, and C. We don't think you're doing well.
How's things going at home? You all right?
Well, no, but more so...
Not so much that.
The head coach would be... Clarko was really good at that stuff.
And then they get in the selection meeting and go, no, he's
But any message that was down, like they had the personal side of it down pat, whereas head coaches are always a bit quacko.
More business.
Yeah. They've got 1,000 things on their mind.
Yeah.
Line coaches have 10 people.
Yeah. Okay. Belangela Fever. Love the X-Man's idea of a West Coast camp loophole on the NGA. Pepsi as a sponsor and named of the greatest NGA selection surpassing Nick Nat, who wasn't NGA, all aboard the West Coast Eagles Null Null Talent Academy, powered by Big Pepsi. Also, and apologies for my query on team announcements, spurring an aside on Rynne's fantasy teams, no doubt called Green Blazers 420. But Chris Scott doubling down on his late exclusions the last couple of weeks makes the whole thing even sillier.
Did Chris Scott drop one yesterday?
No, he did it.
Nah, clean.
And they announced it like, we're going in his name, and everyone piled on the Cats. Denham, for total clarity, the Waffles drafted player page lists 3 2021 mid-season picks as Null Null, who would be Will Collins, Matthew Parker, and Callan Lane. It also lists Parker and Lane a second time by name, but not Collins. Will Collins is Null Null.
Null Null's Will Collins.
Denham has solved the mystery of Null Null.
So that's why it looks suspicious with Null Null as a Swan Districts player in 2021. If it just said Null, no dramas. The double Null Null had me not questioning it at all.
Oh, Will Collins. Null Null.
Okay, we can't.
So where's Will Collins at the moment?
Is he still? No, didn't he retire? I think he was at Swans. I think he's done. I think he stopped playing footy. Maybe he went and played amateurs or something. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Jesse, hey, Nick, Rhino, and Big Pepsi. I saw on AFL.com Kate McCarthy shared her best 1-2 punch midfielders in the league. She had Raul Anderson first, Sidebottom and Dacos second, Sarong Brayshaw third. It got me thinking, who would be the best defending duo in the league? Pearson Cox?
I'm putting
Taylor and Buckley. Keen to hear your thoughts.
Just quick, like 1-2 punch.
Is in the best
Dawson Rankin would be pretty high. I know we didn't see the best version of him.
Yeah. Who's the best two defenders? Taylor and Buckley's hard to go.
That's best. So that's what I was going to say during the Giants yesterday.
Is it Oscar Allen and Sandy Brock?
Do we feel like we've seen the best out of Buckley and Taylor?
Not this year.
No,
Buckley got a lot of footy yesterday, which was different.
Yeah.
But
and they're all down.
Taylor's had a pretty good year.
No, but like he's a wall.
Yeah.
Like best defense 1-2. Well, who's on top of the ladder? Collingwood
and Brisbane.
No
They're
one
more
there.
of a team defense.
Yeah, Brisbane, nothing particular.
Brisbane's Harrison Dizzy.
I would say like an Andrew Starcevic combo is pretty good.
Yeah,
when they're both up and running.
Yeah.
Gold Coast.
Who's Wiedering's mate?
But you could probably
have one.
This year it's
Haynes.
No.
Haynes has
Haynes
has been okay.
After the
Silvani.
first Sauce, but after Haynes' diabolical start at Carlton,
Yeah.
would you take 10 or 11 intercept marks yesterday?
Do you know Pierce, like Pierce and Cox, but I reckon Draper's going to be a really good player. When he's fully
Josh
up and
Draper
running,
at Freo?
I reckon.
A week's a long time in footy.
Didn't
he just have?
Oh, mate, he was
mate,
put
he was
one
one,
out.
yeah.
But I'm just
There's
saying,
not many players
you've
against
just
Cosy.
put him up as being part of the best
I'm just
defensive
saying,
duos in the comp.
I don't
the
reckon-
week after he's had
no.
5 kicked on him.
I don't reckon that was on him.
No,
Well, it was.
great.
That was not on
It
him.
was
No.
a lever as of a few years ago, but definitely not the case
No,
anymore.
definitely.
No. What about Barris and Battle, maybe? Sick
Yeah,
dog,
well.
somewhere in there. I don't know. That's a
They're
good
hard.
question. Alan, Ryan Marrick is a huge success. He'd be a top 20 draftee in hindsight of the 2023 draft. Discuss.
Not sure about that.
Can we go to the 2023 draft? Can you bring that up
No,
really
no.
quickly? You look up.
All I know is he's leading the kick and
You
play
look at-
ons by a mile.
Yeah, you look up that, and I'm going to.
2023 AFL draft.
Don't talk through it. I'm going to do this next question. Aiden, after hearing that JL got fired up at the Freo boys during training, it got me thinking about some of the old-time sprays. I witnessed a couple of perlers from Jason Norrish back in the day. Would love to know some of the best that you boys have experienced. Ryan, have any of the Channel 7 team ever copped one from Stokesy? No, he's not like that. The chairman, he's very
When you
calm.
when you get to a certain point of influence, other people do.
He
sprays
doesn't
for
need
you.
to yell.
No,
Does
no.
he know your name?
Yes.
That's the first up. Or
I
do you
don't
think,
reckon he knew it for a while.
But-
Telethon helps.
Or do you think that someone says like,
Oh, it whispers in the ear.
That's right.
That's
Right.
right.
but and that would happen with a lot of people, so it's not.
Look, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe. I hope not. If you're listening, Kerry, I love you. Okay, let's
Do
go.
you want to do the draft?
Yeah, go to the draft.
Yeah.
Go.
So pick Harley Reid,
So who would go ahead of Marrick? So Harley, yes.
Colby McKercher,
Yes.
Jed Walter,
Yes.
Zane Dersma,
Yes.
the Wizard,
Zane hasn't really fired,
No,
but
he
yes.
hasn't.
The
Wizard,
Wizard,
yes.
yes.
Riley Sanders,
Yes.
Caleb Windsor,
Yes.
Daniel Curtin,
Yes.
Ethan Reid,
Yes.
Yes.
Nate Caddy,
Yes.
Connor O'Sullivan,
Yes.
Yes.
Phoenix Gothard,
Unsure.
Don't know yet.
Colton Tholstrup.
Yes.
Oh, ahead of Marrick?
Well, he's kissing everyone on the field.
It was a lot of hair.
That's a borderline.
Did you?
one.
Borderline.
Jake Rogers,
Yeah, probably.
Gold Coast,
Yeah.
he goes ahead
I'd
of him.
probably take him 13.
Jordan Croft, Western
No, I
Bulldogs.
haven't seen
I
him.
haven't seen enough.
Will Green, Sydney.
Haven't seen him.
James Leake, GWS.
Not enough.
Darcy Wilson, St Kilda.
Yes.
Yes.
Will McCabe, Hawthorn.
Haven't seen him.
And Taylor Goad, North Melbourne.
Well, that's 14. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say he'd be 15th.
In the top 20.
Yeah, we haven't seen the back
Caden
end.
Cleary's
Yeah,
in there.
what's
Cleary I
Lance,
like.
Lance Collard.
Yeah, what's out the back
Archer
end?
Reid.
Archer Reid could probably take ahead of him.
Yeah.
Logan Morris, Brisbane.
Logan Morris. Would
Yes.
take him. So he's around the mark. It's
Sean
not-
Manor.
Yeah. Okay, ready? Chloe. I was listening to the Sunday Rub and my ears did perk up when I heard Rhino has some new beef.
So, Chloe, is this Chloe a female? We don't have a great deal of females.
Oh,
I
yeah,
would
there's a
assume
few.
Chloe's
This is
female.
outstanding.
There we
Yeah,
go.
we need to give that a bit more love, mate.
All right. Well, thank you, Chloe. I think
Thank you,
she's
Chloe.
about to bag me out, so I'm not
Yeah,
going to tell her.
well, I'll say thank you,
I
Chloe.
was listening to the Sunday Rub and my ears did perk up when I heard Rhino has some new beef. Forget
Oh.
Tom Morris, Kane Corns, or Mitch Cleary. Rhino has a new rival in Jay Clark.
Oh.
Love the pod as always.
'Cause you
Keep
replaced
up the
him.
good- I didn't
Thanks, Chloe.
replace him. Clarky,
He replaced the Sunday Rub.
he went and became chief football reporter at the Herald Sun
Yes, he did.
and had too much on his plate. So he left. So then Gilesy, head of Triple M footy, rang me and said, we'd
Would
like you to
you?
do this. Would you
Yeah.
like to do it? And I said, I think I could do it. Like,
How are you finding it?
look, it's hard Sunday mornings and it's hard to be in a different
Room.
country, not state, sorry.
Yeah.
It's very hard to develop chemistry in a different place.
Correct.
But I think it's going as well as it could go
Good.
in the early stages. Those guys are great. They're
are
very, very funny.
They are good.
And they're really good. And they're like, we're leaning into the Jay versus Ryan stuff.
Right.
But
Okay.
Jay's a great operator and a really nice bloke.
Can I ask, so when the chief of the Herald Sun role popped up, it
Yeah.
was Mark Robinson?
was
Was
Robbo.
Robbo.
Yeah. It was down to Ralphie or Jay, apparently.
Was there a stoush?
Apparently
At a
there
pub,
was a bit
yeah.
of a
Yeah,
stoush.
was there a fight?
At a
Apparently
pub,
there was a
I don't know, what's
stoush.
the story? I've heard it.
You'd love this, Nick. You're
I've
in
heard
Yeah,
the
no, so
flyby,
there's-
but I haven't heard the actual story.
Well, I don't think the actual stories ever really come
Well,
come
make
out.
it up.
I
But
don't
there was
think
a
it's
bit of
no, I don't think the truth is as sexy as the rumor.
Well, okay.
There was a
I
bit
don't
of
know.
a stoush about it, the job and who might get it and everything else. And I think, was it David King? Someone had to separate them.
Right.
Someone was there with them and had to just sort of, come on, boys.
love that.
Let's
So they actually went
throw
at
a bit
it.
of water. Well, just verbals, mate. Journos don't really go
Well,
the
if you
beef
think
anymore.
about the role, that's a role that you typically would have for at least 10 years. And Jay's still a young guy, right? So he might have that.
How old's
this
Jay?
might be-
How do we
If
define
you're
young?
Ralphie, that's your
Jay
only.
be 40 odd, wouldn't he?
45?
Nah, I reckon he'd be mid to high 40s. I
Yeah.
reckon. And that would be the only time Ralphie can get that role.
You're getting old, mate. He's saying 45 he's a young guy.
Well, I was just trying to work it out because when I started, he was already around.
He was over here for a while.
He was,
Jay,
he'd been around for a few years already. So just going by that, I'm guessing he's about 3 or 4 years older than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ralphie's probably not going to get that gig.
No.
So if he would be a little frustrated, I get it.
Yeah, we can't take it down the bloke who's got the job.
Well,
I'm not saying he
nobody
did.
had the
I don't
job.
know if he
No,
did.
nobody
I
had the job at that point.
Right.
They were both.
I don't even
competing
know if
for
that's
it.
what happened.
So
No one knows what actually
was
happened.
the expectation him just step back for a little bit, let someone else have a go, then he might be next?
No, I think the expectation is only one of us can get this.
Yeah, only
Yeah.
one of them can get it.
And they both probably wanted it.
fighting's not going to
Fight
help.
to the death.
Fighting doesn't help.
Okay, random Aussie things. This was sent last week. High team question for the pod for Zave. Being a former player, does it make much of a difference this part of the season if a team has an extra 2 days break compared to another team? This weekend, the Hawks will have 2 less days break than the Eagles. Does this mean there's a better chance of the Eagles upsetting the Hawks? It definitely means more if
It
there's
was
travel
not.
involved as well.
I used to love short breaks.
Yeah, but you were playing in Melbourne
Love
for a
it.
lot of the time.
No, regardless, love it. Less training. You get to work on a Monday.
Two matches.
Short meetings.
But that's just because you're lazy.
No one likes to train. In mid-season, you're out there for 2 hours doing not a great
But
deal.
is it better for performance?
I'm sure the record would show that.
Yeah.
I think the sweet spot would be 7 days.
I don't like when there's a fixture where it's 2+ days of a
Between
difference.
them.
But I think
One
every
should
club
be the
cops,
maximum.
But I think every club, just the way it falls,
Yeah,
with
but the
Thursday night footy, cops at once.
I've been a big advocate for this. The teams from WA should never have to be in a 2-game deficit, 2-day deficit, ever.
What
Where they
about
gotta
at
travel.
home?
No, never. No, there was games last year where there was a 4-day break for teams.
Yeah.
And if you're counting the time it took to get home, it's ridiculous. You gotta be
It's only a 3-hour flight.
well, it's not though.
Flying still
but I used
sucks.
to have
It's
to
a
drive
4-hour
7 hours to play a game.
It's a 4-hour flight on the way back, plus the time at the airport and all the
We
crap.
told
that goes
a
with it.
mate that it was quicker on the way back to Melbourne because it was downhill. And he dead set went with it. G'day to you,
Okay,
boat.
Jay sent last week. Hey, fellas, Jay here, another depressed Docker supporter. 3 questions for Ryan. Who would you rather have on your team, Jamari Ugle-Hagan or Jai Amos? Well, Jai Amos is fit and healthy.
Which
and ready to go.
Amos is out there.
version?
Jai's been
Yeah.
playing okay the last couple of weeks.
Jai Amos
I know
does the
you've
training.
been writing
2
him
from
off.
the goal line and 6 disposals.
He's been providing a good contest. You've been out of
He
it.
got, I want him up the ground. Not out of. Like, why can't he do the second ruck roll? There you go. We spoke
Yeah,
about
well,
that.
I wouldn't mind
Just
saying
let him go around the ground and try and get 5 touches for free.
If Simon Garlick is the new AFL's COO who
he
replaces
sold-
him as Freo president.
I thought he said no. He's CEO.
Well, he's not- he's a CEO.
I thought he said no.
Yeah, he's already said no. He keeps getting put up for jobs every year.
Yeah, why?
Well, he's
Is it
very
lazy?
connected.
Yeah, but is it lazy journalism? That
No,
they
he's
go,
done it.
let's just chuck Simon Garlic.
Simon Garlic,
It
yeah.
won't be a complete falsity.
Copy and paste.
highly rated
Yeah,
within AFL
yeah,
house. He is actually highly
he's a
rated. He's
good
a
guy.
very good operator.
He gave me a little inkling one day that Lance Franklin might have been a late withdrawal. Were you in the box that day?
No, I don't think so.
And then I went with it.
Did you? Was it true?
No. In fairness.
How hard it is to break news. You got to check things.
No. In fairness, I was a bit soft about it. But Lance was out there doing 100-metre strides by himself
Oh,
before the game.
That's probably what Simon thought.
Yeah,
too.
no, so obviously murmurings had gone that Lance obviously was a chance not to play.
Yeah.
He'd never done that warm-up in his life. And he played, and I think he kicked 8 on Griffin Loke. I think he kicked 8.
Question 3. If J-Lo is sacked by the end of the season, who would be a first pick as the next senior coach and could get the most out of this list? Personally, I wouldn't mind Buckley or Bevo. I'm not going to go into that.
yeah.
I don't think J-Lo will get sacked. I think he's doing a good job.
They made
So,
the finals, he's sweet.
yeah, I think he'd be sweet. Paddy, one of your rival pods, Fireball on SEN with King and Kane, refer to their listeners as ballers. Patrons call in and refer to themselves as a long-time baller, first-time caller. My brother Killian and I have been listening to the pod for many years now and would like to know what you think the hardballgets listeners should call ourselves. Thoughts on hardball heroes? Well, we should be ballers.
Hard
The
ballers.
ball is in the word.
Yeah, no, but we can't steal their
I
stuff.
suppose Fireball is
Yeah,
in
we
the
well,
can't
word.
steal. We can't steal their stuff.
Well, they steal our stuff all the time.
No,
don't
I don't think. I think
they?
we've.
Allegedly.
No, but I think sometimes we just talk pretty general.
You think so?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty general conversation.
You think so?
Like, how dare we talk about Jamara? Like every podcast is talking about Jamara.
If Oscar
I
McDonald
was
starts
gonna
getting
say,
mentioned,
If Oscar McDonald starts getting a go,
Do you know what we need to do? We need to throw one player out a week that's like a little
yeah.
tester.
well, Mickey Barlow.
Yeah, that was one.
Mickey Barlow.
Mickey.
I tried to ring. I did a 2-minute monologue on George Hewitt last
yeah,
week.
yep.
Mick has a podcast the next day.
Yeah.
and does a monologue on George Hewitt.
Funny that.
Rattling off my numbers.
Mick's a big listener.
Mick is a listener.
Shout out, Mick, if you're listening to this one.
We'll take suggestions for what you think.
I like
it should be
Hardball
called.
Heroes.
Hardball Heroes.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Sounds a little bit like a charity or something. That's okay.
Maybe we can raise money for an end of season trip for one person.
Glenn, why isn't someone always looping past Flynn for kicks instead of him taking/butchering them himself? I think that's Matt Flynn. Is that Matt Flynn?
Yeah.
Yeah. that's probably
Rob,
it.
Blues have copped it for the Kennedy trade. However, he and Hewitt were always in and out of the midfield for each other. One positive from the trade is Big Pepsi's new boy doing well in the middle. That's a good point.
It is that theory of, we just spoke about Erasmus, for example, who can't get in there. Like, Kennedy couldn't particularly get in there. And he'd play good games at forward and kick a couple of goals here and there, but yes.
Mark has sent in a picture of what looks to be the back door of potentially a cafe or some sort of
Just look.
spa, and the name of the place is Null Null. Have a look at that. We'll put it up on our Insta.
Who was the kid's name?
Will Collins.
Will
he owns
Collins.
it? Do you reckon he owns that
It's actually
establishment?
Will Collins' recovery
It looks
retreat.
like it looks like a place where they have cold ice baths.
Yeah.
It looks recovery.
Yeah,
few
I would say
reformers.
that. Yeah, Billy, at the 11:11 mark of the mailbag last week, Cones Rynne put forth the statement, "Something happened at Gatherround that made Marby or Chol chase," referencing Chol's huge pressure efforts on Easter Monday. In 2024, Marbior had the 6th highest number of tackles inside 50 in the AFL and the highest of any key forward, posting numbers higher than Charlie Cameron, Riley West, Kai Lohman and Cozzy Pickett, to name a few. Cones needs to lay off the devil's lettuce and put some respect on Marbior's name.
All right.
Hey.
Yeah. No, look, I'll take that.
Say sorry, 2 phones.
Sorry, 2 phones.
Devil's lettuce is a
didn't-
good one.
Yeah,
You ever heard that?
yeah, I have.
Heard that?
Yes.
Hayden, when should the MRO be sacked? 2 years ago, at least for me. How does Curtis get 3 weeks? Here, I thought the Jacko Archer suspension was the worst of the season.
Still reckon Archers is worse.
Without Curtis, can North still beat the Dons? Probably your biggest hardball gets Kanga fan.
Never again
right.
North.
Are they playing this week? Mate,
Yeah, on Thursday night.
They
Yeah.
can absolutely beat Essendon,
I-
but Curtis would have helped.
I still think he gets off.
You reckon?
They've
They're going-
challenged it.
They're at the Tribunal.
So never again North. They sucked me in again on the weekend.
Tribunal tonight, being that it's Tuesday.
Yeah, tonight.
Geez, North Melbourne. Well, just some odds. $1.43 Essendon.
Ooh.
$2.83 North.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Christian, could there possibly be a coaching chance if the Weagles change? I'm guessing if the Weagles didn't win a game all year.
Absolutely zero chance.
No.
But Qualter has had no input on what is being served up here.
Yep.
Talking about what was served up prior, this is completely off topic. Is the person who rejected 2 first-round draft picks for Harrison Petty still working at Melbourne? And 2, is the person who offered at Adelaide 2 first-round draft picks for Harrison Petty still working at Adelaide? I need to get to the bottom of that. I just need to work that out. That just triggered me. They both have to have been sacked.
Do you reckon after that game against West Coast when he kicked 4, they were just showing the Harrison Petty highlights to everybody around the
but
office?
they also
told you about this bloke.
They used
Told you about this bloke.
They used
Well,
AI
what's gonna
too
happen?
they actually said he kicked 6 actually.
He's breaking out.
Get him in.
Riley, does Dangerfield get fined for staging or gets away scot-free like usual?
What did he stage for?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that one.
No, it's not big enough.
Okay, Benjamin,
Get anything.
what do you do with the West Coast WAFL team? It can't be helping the development of the Eagles
No,
kids to be
it's
at
a killer.
AFL
They're better
each week
this
at the
year.
lower
They're much better
level
this
whilst
year.
running out alongside effectively Ammo's players. It seems the WAFL was so worried about a standalone Eagles team dominating the WAFL that they have restricted their recruitment of players so much so they are now a free 4 points each week. The WAFL may be signing its own death warrant by pushing the Eagles into a future National Reserves comp. Surely the club needs to realign with another WAFL club so that it can at least be competitive. Perth screams as the obvious answer. I think the obvious answer is to pull back on some of those restrictions and what they can do.
But
Absolutely.
they've done a lot of that over the
How many
journey as
how
well.
many
Not
games have they won?
Well,
Nowhere near enough.
No.
Mate, they're
I
lucky
don't
to
think
win
they've
one
won
a
any.
year.
Well,
Like,
they
they're just-
wouldn't have won a game this year.
it's,
Not yet.
It's actually
No.
embarrassing.
But they've been competitive
they've
this
got-
year, whereas last few years they were not
But they've
competitive
got
at all.
16 or 17 players playing.
Yeah,
and then
no,
wait until they get a
don't.
couple of injuries. It's going to be diabolical again.
Yeah.
Stuart, this is a voice message.
Boys, love the pod. Still dirty on the theme song.
Yeah,
Love that old one.
me too.
Just want to touch one more time on this Noah Bolter furor that's
nervous.
going on. People do these sort of assaults all the time, not condoning that it's good or bad, but a lot worse things than he did have happened on the footy field. I don't understand why when much more thuggish, cowardly acts have happened on a footy field, people are so up in arms in this. What are your thoughts?
Look,
So just shorten that, I think he's saying that we've seen worse acts on the footy field.
can't
be it,
remember one.
Barry Hall on stakes.
yeah, Barry Hall was probably the worst one that I've seen in a moment in terms of just a
Yeah.
cold,
Well,
unexpected.
I'd still put Bolter at. Like,
Brutality.
what Bolter's is probably.
Well, I mean,
No, the
Alistair-
difference is one's on a field where you're expecting combat. One is, I mean, there was obviously an incident happening at the time. But the biggest problem with the Bolter stuff, and Stu, I can understand your disappointment in how it all played out. The biggest problem was the awkward space in between the suspension and the
And the
sentencing.
sentence.
But to start with, it wasn't Richmond's fault, the awkward space.
No, because
They suspended him to the court date, and then the court date got moved back
Yeah,
2
correct.
weeks. And
Yeah.
that was where the grey area came in.
and also the fact that they hadn't at the time seen the
video.
CCTV. Once you see video of the incident, everything always gets worse. So there was a couple of problems there, and I think what we should have seen was that Richmond or the AFL, once they got a new date, stepped in and say, "Hey, for everybody involved, we're just going to push this back
Yeah.
a couple of weeks
And
until
that's-
there's a resolution."
I'm probably in favour of that.
You would have
if
stopped
you
all of
stood
it. You would have stopped it all.
You stood down until it's resolved. There's
Correct.
no set days or whatever when it's
but
resolved.
I get that, but some NRL cases, players have missed 2 years of their career, a year of their career.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
of the
it's true.
stand down rule.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so, no false stand down.
and some have been found not guilty.
Yeah, the AFL
And missed 18 months of their career.
The AFL is still very lenient on this stuff.
Yeah.
So Bolton missing one more game, which it turned out to be,
wouldn't have mattered.
wouldn't have mattered in the grand scheme of things, but it would have given him a lot of space and time. Everyone, Uze, Richmond, the whole mess.
Yeah.
But even like, not that we're experts in this, you probably are. Noah Bolton not speaking and then just doing a video, and
Yeah, it's
then
all
Uze
about it,
getting
yeah.
1,000 questions,
And
and,
then,
Noah Bolton's a leader of that
Then
football
trying to
club and
cut
highly
the press
paid.
arts, like,
Okay, but I get the cutting of the presser after a while.
But don't put- no,
But
they
the way
needed to put-
the cameras just go glunk.
yeah. So all
Yeah.
that needed to happen there was the CEO needed to speak before
So
Adam
I'm
Uze.
here to address the Bolter
Yeah.
Guys,
situation.
ask me anything you want about Bolter. Uze would have still got 1 or 2, but he wouldn't have got 20.
Yeah.
And that's the way to handle it. And it still is surprising to me that
Was that the CEO to the side?
He did a thing. No,
No.
not that.
No,
He
that-
did something in the car
He did a car
didn't
park thing with Cleary, I think.
Yeah.
Lockie, still waiting on more of Zave's WA draftee list from a few weeks ago. You working on that?
What are they?
Or were you going to go further back with Null Null?
No. I just went back to 2018. There was 24 players, and I reckon one is on the
yeah.
list.
Mickey, do you think Butters is leaving next season?
Yes.
It's starting to look like it, isn't it? Jeez, he's a good player. Jimmy Wegener, surely North can find a better role for Colby McKercher. I said this a few weeks ago.
We do agree with
That
this.
Something's going on with Colby. They need to get him in there. Jimmy Mack, who
I
to West
think he was closer to being in the VFL than in the better position, to be
Jimmy
honest.
Mack, who to West Coast beat this year? And if it's 0, is a priority pick in the question. I think they will get some form of priority pick. I don't know that for sure yet. I just think, no, if you
How do you
just
get priority picks when you're giving your picks away?
No, but every club that ever gets priority picks is always A, shit on the field, B, makes shit decisions at the draft and in trading. This is how you get to this.
Who
spot.
was the last-
So anyone
who
who
was the
says,
last
well,
clubs?
they got themselves here, North Melbourne was still getting them last year.
Yeah.
Like, just because you're making bad decisions, that doesn't rule you out from priority picks. All right? I'm just saying.
We'll be okay.
Gosh, I got fired up there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Saxon, if we knew he wasn't going to get suspended this year, could Baz win the Brownlow?
No.
Blake, is the current top 8 set? Who
He probably
comes in
could.
and out?
Yeah, he could.
No, I don't think it's set yet. Top 8.
No, there's too many log jams.
Jaden, who's the better player in their career, Jamie Cripps or Jamie Elliott?
Cripps.
Cripper. Elliott's had some big moments.
Both very good. I think
Ryan,
Cripper does a lot of stuff off the ground.
Paddy, are the Blues back? Nick.
No, not quite. Not quite.
Are you a
Give
blue
it time.
man?
No, I just,
No, you're off
I'm
Blues.
them. Yeah.
Ashley, why didn't Dacos win the medal if he's the best player in the comp? Good question.
We don't get 3 votes every round.
Maybe
do ya?
still Sidebottom's best player in the comp.
Yeah, mate. I mean, no one's won the Brownlow with what 70 odd votes.
All
or how
right,
many
we
rounds
have
there
Cripps
are.
got close.
we have got 3 conspiracies. Let's kick it off. Max. Hey, fellas. Max from Jakarta. Long-time avid listener.
Hello.
Got a conspiracy, an idea, and a question for Zave. On the 15-metre kick rule,
Yeah.
I've got a theory that the umpires are purely basing it off the mowed lines of the grass,
Yes.
which are 15 metres apart.
Incorrect.
Right. Once you see it happen, you can't unsee it. Maybe clubs need to start moving the lines closer together, or the opposite, to catch the other team off guard when the umps continually call play on. The question I have is, I'm involved with the Jakarta Bintangs AFL team, and later this year we have our 30th anniversary. Would Zaid be interested in coming to the anniversary?
the Tangers.
We'd pay for flights and accommodation. Ryan, your second pick, unfortunately, and Nick, drugs are strictly prohibited in Indonesia, so you wouldn't be able to come anyway. Cheers, fellas.
So I think those strips are mown at 12 metres.
Well, so
I
David
reckon-
King said yesterday, I think it was Kingy, said that the Gold Coast ones are 10 metres.
Yeah, so I
No,
think
Jared Healy it was.
and
Jared.
BT I think has them at 12 at the G or something or other.
Right, so they're different at every ground.
Yes.
Okay.
I must admit the figure is the umpires have been, and I know it's been umpire bashing week. I think they've been pretty ordinary as well.
Yeah.
The 15-metre thing is clearly an AFL directive.
Pissing
to keep
everybody
the
off.
game moving.
And free kicks out of the ruck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of ticky touch was in the forward line
but
as well.
when both ruckmen look at each other, they're going, "Shit, what have I done?" It's not working.
Are you going to go to Jakarta?
I'll have to check the calendar.
The calendar, basically what he means by that is, Max, is there a payday?
No.
No.
I did say when M threw up, we go to Bali for some Easter holidays.
Okay.
I said verbatim, if my mother's funeral was in Bali this week, I would not attend.
What's that? Too
But
busy?
this isn't Bali.
Just too busy?
Jakarta.
Yeah, I know, but it's all around the same area.
Jake, all right, hit the music.
Another one.
Conspiracy from a diehard Crom fan. Phil Thorpe's hand injury is worse than being reported. Came out with fingers taped together, then left the ground in severe discomfort. Some reports said Bones had pieces of the skin showing. Pieces had
The bones were coming through the
coming
skin.
in,
something like that. Then Sunday reports emerged that he's all fine and a chance to play next week. Is it just me, or does the math not add up here? Nix is coaching for his life, so he's pushing Riley into playing games he really shouldn't be. Surely we can't afford to gamble with this bloke. He is our future. Now, can I just add some context to this? Because I was on the call for Channel 7 the other night. I was on the boundary. Still thought ran right past me with his hand. And it did look very sore. He was very sore. And he went in there. Now, he went in there, and I reckon about 3 minutes went past before they then showed the vision of him in the rooms.
Yeah, it did. Ages.
So it looked like he
was
had
running
been
back
running
out.
around in pain in the
Yeah.
rooms for about 8 minutes.
I know, we thought he was running back out.
No, that was old vision.
Yeah.
But even the commentators, even Joel and Nick were like, geez, he's still in a lot of pain. This is not
Yeah,
good. And I was
yeah,
like, guys, that was the initial
Yeah.
run into the room.
Which was weird to put it on
yes, so
3 or 4 minutes late.
they just clearly couldn't get it.
No, I get it,
in
but
time.
for sure, because we all were like, "Oh shit, is
He's
he
still
running
in-
back out?"
He's
We
still
saw
in
it.
pain.
That was
Yeah.
confusing.
It was a bit confusing. But when he came off again, he did have blood coming through.
Yeah, split his webbing. You
Yeah,
reckon?
I don't reckon there's a guarantee he'll play this week. Okay, last one. It's from Jacob. I have a conspiracy. I believe the AEC, Australian Electoral Commission,
Commission.
is using the AFL and its players to push voters in the upcoming election. This would be good. The housing crisis has been a major debate recently in the election. And recently we've seen popular AFL players like Chad Warner and Matt Rao buy homes away from home. Is this a simple case of purchasing investment properties? Or is Albo slipping the money on the side to buy these properties to convince people that the housing market isn't in crisis to help him poll votes? It might be a stretch, but the timing is very convenient.
I do think there's a few houses available in the $2.5–3 million price range.
yeah.
Well, you know Albo.
Easy to get into.
You and Albo are mates. Has he given you a little side cash to buy a new place?
Actually, I'm getting my house appraised.
there we go.
The plot thickens.
On Thursday.
You're part of it.
On Thursday,
This
they're
goes
coming over.
straight to the top.
Everything you thought is
Jeez,
correct.
if you're looking for a nice house in the, what did you say, the $3 million range, you'd be
2 to
around
3
there.
million.
Nah, I won't have a 3 in
Oh,
front.
have a two at least.
I've had
They'd
another
have a
story.
two. Have a two. Maybe
You
wouldn't
throwing
be-
in
wouldn't be miles
a
off.
Tesla charger?
You blokes are out of control.
Where are you moving to? What's the thinking here?
Where's he going? Beachside. West Coast.
I'm going to Bali.
This episode is brought to you by Woodside Energy, a proud major sponsor of the Fremantle Football Club, supporting local footy from grassroots to greatness.
This has been the Hardball Gets AFL show. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you next time.